bedtime story for kids. In the bright and bustling town of Maryhill, where houses were painted in candy colors and the air always smelled faintly of cinnamon, there lived a girl named Lila. Lila was 8 years old, curious, cheerful, and a little clumsy. Her hair curled wildly in every direction. Her shoes were always untied, and she had a laugh that sounded like 100 little bells ringing at once. Everyone in town adored her because whenever she was around, something funny was bound to happen. She had a way of turning even the dullest days into something memorable. Lila lived with her Uncle Monty, who was an inventor. His workshop was the strangest place in Maryhill. It was full of half-built machines, springs that bounced around for no reason, and gadgets that nobody could quite figure out. Some of his inventions were useful, like the toaster that could butter bread at the same time, but others were just silly, like a hat that sneezed every time someone said cheese. Uncle Monty often told Lila that one day she would have an adventure bigger than all of his inventions combined. One sunny morning, while Lila was helping Uncle Monty clean up spilled marbles in the workshop, she found something odd under the workbench. It was a dusty, old-looking music box shaped like a star. She wound it up and it began to play a soft, tinkling tune. But then, to her surprise, the star-shaped box lifted into the air and hovered right in front of her. Pip, her pet parrot with rainbow-colored feathers, squawked loudly and flapped his wings in alarm. Lila's eyes widened as the music box spoke in a tiny but clear voice. "Lila of Maryhill, you have found the star box. Will you follow where its music leads?" Without waiting for her answer, the star box floated toward the open window. Lila grabbed her backpack, tossed in a sandwich and a cookie, and followed quickly with Pip squawking from her shoulder. Uncle Monty barely noticed. He was too busy testing a pair of roller skates that shot out confetti. The star box drifted out of town, across the meadows, and into the whistling woods, a forest known for trees that whistled whenever the wind passed through them. The tune from the box grew louder, guiding Lila deeper inside. Suddenly, a rustling noise came from behind a bush, and out popped a chubby little hedgehog wearing tiny round glasses. "Oh, good heavens!" the hedgehog exclaimed. "A human child, and a parrot. How terribly unusual." The hedgehog introduced himself as Professor Prickle, a scholar of the forest. He explained that the star box was no ordinary toy. It was a key to the hidden carnival, a magical place that appeared only once every 100 years, full of wonders and laughter, but also guarded by puzzles and challenges. "Only the bravest and silliest may enter," Professor Prickle said, adjusting his glasses. Lila giggled. "Then I must be perfect, because I'm both." Together, they followed the star box until they came to a clearing where a huge golden door stood between two oak trees. The door had no handle, only 3 carvings: a cookie, a feather, and a musical note. Pip flapped his wings, and one of his feathers drifted down onto the carvings. The door shimmered, but did not open. Lila frowned, took the cookie from her backpack, and pressed it against the cookie carving. Instantly, the door glowed brighter. Then she whistled, though badly, sounding like a squeaky flute, but somehow it worked. With a loud creak, the golden door swung open. On the other side was the hidden carnival. Bright tents of every color filled the field. Cotton candy clouds floated above, and rides spun with sparkling lights. Lila's eyes lit up with joy. The first thing she saw was a merry-go-round, but instead of horses, it had giant teacups that laughed whenever someone sat inside. Nearby, clowns juggled balloons that turned into real birds and then back into balloons. The air smelled like popcorn, caramel, and fresh cookies. But the carnival was not empty. Strange and funny creatures ran it. Rabbits wearing bow ties sold candy apples, owls in little top hats announced shows, and even turtles raced down slides made of rainbows. Lila clapped her hands in delight. Suddenly, the star box floated higher and pointed toward a massive striped tent at the center of the carnival. "That is where the great surprise awaits," said Professor Prickle. "But only those who complete the carnival challenges can enter." The first challenge was at the pie catapult booth. The rule was simple: launch a pie into a moving hoop. Lila tried, but the pie flew backward and landed squarely on Pip's face. The parrot squawked angrily, then licked the cream off his feathers and decided it was delicious. Everyone laughed so hard that the booth owner, a rabbit in a bow tie, gave Lila a golden ticket just for making everyone happy. The second challenge was the giggle maze. Inside, the walls were mirrors that showed silly reflections. One made her look like a giant banana, another gave her 3 noses, and one stretched her ears so long she looked like an elephant. Pip kept flying into the mirrors, confused by his own reflection. Professor Prickle rolled into a ball and bounced like a rubber ball to find the way out. In the end, Lila laughed so much that tears rolled down her cheeks, and the maze itself seemed to melt away, revealing another golden ticket. The third challenge was the juggling jamboree. Lila had never juggled in her life, but she gave it a try. To everyone's surprise, she managed to juggle 3 cookies, a feather, and Pip, who was flapping his wings wildly. "Hey, I'm not a juggling ball," Pip cried. The crowd roared with laughter and cheered for her. A fox in a sparkling vest handed her the final golden ticket. With 3 golden tickets in hand, Lila, Pip, and Professor Prickle approached the striped tent. The star box hovered ahead, glowing brighter than ever. Inside the tent, they found a stage lit by thousands of twinkling lights. A tall figure in a cloak stepped forward. He was the ringmaster with a smile as wide as the moon. "Welcome, child of Maryhill," he said. "Few find their way here, but you have brought laughter, kindness, and bravery. The hidden carnival rewards you with its greatest treasure." He clapped his hands, and the stage opened to reveal, not gold, not jewels, but a giant cookie cake big enough to feed the entire town. "The treasure," the ringmaster explained, "is joy, joy to be shared." Lila laughed, Pip cheered, and even Professor Prickle wiped a happy tear from behind his glasses. They feasted on the cookie cake, and when it was gone, the star box glowed one last time before resting quietly in Lila's hands. "Whenever you need us," the ringmaster said, "open the star box, and the hidden carnival will return." The next morning, Lila woke up in her bed at home, wondering if it had all been a dream. But on her nightstand sat the star box, quiet but real. She smiled, hugged Pip, and whispered, "Adventure or not, life is always sweet with cookies and laughter." And from that day on, the people of Maryhill always remembered the girl with the wild hair, the rainbow parrot, and the heart full of joy, because wherever Lila went, the world always felt a little more magical and a lot more funny.